face. Be happy. Enjoy.
I care, man.
This is your maybe nice guys really do finish last, or at least get knocked out in the Western Conference semifinals. Leader Fan Radio Network.
What do you mean?
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 12 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Welcome back. It is a midweek edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. My name is Dan Barreiro. I occasionally host the program. Guardsy produces it, and we will be here. Are we going the distance again tonight till 6:30?
Yes.
What is game time for Game 5, Minnesota Wild?
I think it's 7, isn't it?
I thought it was, but I lose track. There's so many games to keep track of, as you know. And
so I just kind of go with the flow, but I think it's a 7 o'clock puck drop, I'm pretty sure.
7 p.m., so pregame 6:30?
I would imagine so.
Should be.
Yeah, we'll just start it right there.
I certainly hope so.
I'm going to double-check the tip time. I probably should know, but taking a look at it, 7 o'clock. Our gut was right.
Power Pack guest lineup today. That much is established. We'll give you some details on that in just a minute. We'll get the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line rip-roaring going in a matter of minutes as well. That, of course, is 64686. What was the tenor on Wolves Wine Line, also called Howlin' with the Homies? Was it all savagery on John Randall, Julius Randle all of the time, or was it a little bit more nuanced than that?
Oh, we got to Julius, but yeah, we spread it around.
I mean, in terms of texts that you got.
A lot of Julius texts. A lot of Julius, yeah. A lot of Rudy texts. A lot of Finchy texts on, have we never seen a double team before?
Yes.
Why can't we figure out how to beat this defense? But a lot of it centered around, yes, Julius Randle, the fact they don't have really a point guard at this point because of who they have and who they don't have available to them. But yes, a lot of it, as you could imagine, centered around Big Julius.
We'll obviously review what took place in game number 5 in San Antonio Davie. We will preview game number 5, Minnesota Wild. Russo Radio will help us do that, by the way. He's going to file a live report from a mile high at 5:02. Russo Radio 5:02. Kessler, always high, will join in studio, I'm assuming, at 5:30.
At least a mile.
And it could be 2 miles, actually. And Sam Mitchell is expected to join us at 4:30. Now, he agreed to do that yesterday with a interesting phone call he made to me as the Wolves were getting destroyed last night.
Oh. Yeah, I wondered. It was an odd time to get the confirmation that Sam was coming on.
I think Sam may have had a belt or two. And he was quite vocal.
Think about this,
about
Dan.
The good and the bad involving the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know how much of that he'll go into today, but it was a very earthy conversation.
Okay, I like those.
With Sam Mitchell, and that's when he agreed. So I say I think we have him at 4:30 advisedly.
Okay.
Because he might have forgotten about it. Now, I've reminded him.
Okay.
But he hasn't responded to the reminder.
That's all you can do.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping for him, Sam Mitchell, today at 4:30. So that's the uglydeck.com guest lineup for today, including, I mentioned Kessler at 5:30. I'm going to begin in a weird place, maybe a place that you didn't perhaps expect, and I'm not sure I expected to go this route because it's unlike me to go down the road I'm about to go down, in that it will be perceived as me reacting after the fact on the basis of the loss. I'm going to probably be I'll be accused of homerism on this one, I think. Although, in a way, it's a criticism of the hometown team. And if I look back now on the basis of, and I admit I'm partly traumatized by what I saw Wemby do in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Actually, wasn't it like the first
8 minutes.
6 minutes of the first. Didn't he have like 19 points in 6 minutes?
I think it was 18. Felt like more.
Felt like more.
Yep. Dominated the game. Yep.
So, what is it? Are you likely to hear even more from fans? Shouldn't have even been playing in that game. And that's usually an emotion I rip and that I resist. But I think I'm going there a little bit now because the more I think about it, it's undeniable that the Wolves did not deserve to win the game on the basis of who played. We're going to get to these indescribable stretches of what's considered a low IQ. Do you know?
I don't. You want me to look?
Yeah, look. What's considered like a?
I've never had to worry about like what the range is. I've never,
Yeah.
I've never been, not very smart, but also not smart.
Whatever number we can associate with it, it's the number that the Wolves deserve on the basis of the way they were playing, treating offense, the offensive end of the court, for significant sections of the game, as quite frankly, Reggie Miller, among others, on the broadcast noticed.
Below 70 or 75 are typically classified, according to AI, which is smarter than us, as low. Average IQ is about 100.
All right, well, then I'll go with 52.
Okay.
They played at a 52 basketball IQ through significant sections of that game. And by the way, that's where the ripping is going to come in. Here, what are we hearing today?
We know the plan.
We're hearing, well, you saw it. They're better. They're just better than us. They're healthier, and they're better. And you can, gnash your teeth all you want. This town's really good from a media perspective of it inevitably getting to that place where, what are these fans complaining about? They're just better. I'm here to tell you that's, for me, on the basis of last night's game, only half the story. In other words, I believe two things can be true at the same time. One, the Spurs are better, and they are healthier. And two, the Wolves made it far easier that even with that disparity than they needed to through significant sections of Game 5 in San Antonio, Davie. I'm not going to let them off the hook on just the first one. I'm not. But here's the question. We have to go back to game number 4. And I hesitate to go down this road because it'll be considered kind of a homer take. But I went along too easily with the rational folks, I think, looking back on it now, who said he got kicked out of the game. Wemby did, deserved it. Not even a borderline call. Should have been fined, but no further suspension, no further punishment in terms of taking him off the court was merited or needed given his track record, which he had none, right? There was no, I don't think he'd been called into the principal's office even once, right? I think I was too compliant with that viewpoint. I look back on it now and I say, forget precedent. The hit itself, the act itself, should have been worthy. Even if he got knocked out when he did, or got thrown out when he did, which was second quarter, of a second game. There should have been another suspension there. And beyond that, let me try this theory on you. This has been advanced. I heard this advanced again today by Antonio Daniels, among others. And it's sneaky. And it, again, flies in the face of part of what we talked about yesterday, which was don't worry about winning the battle to lose the war. Composure in the end will serve your purpose. You have to be smart. But if you look back on the moment the incident took place, can you argue that at that moment, the Minnesota Timberwolves were too nice? That they needed a player, preferably one off the bench, who doesn't matter, like Ingles, to come out there and escalate the situation. Because the Daniels theory, and it's not a bad one, is if that because it stopped fast, right?
Because Jaden McDaniels showed a cool head
exactly,
and just held him up.
And Nas, he may have popped back up, but it wasn't like then he was trying to throw punches or do anything else. He wasn't charging the mound. Exactly it.
Yep.
But if you look at it now, can you make the argument that A, was too much composure, and from a strategic standpoint, actually worked against the Wolves? That if a Timberwolf player had escalated it, in other words, starts charging the mound, not just pushing back on Wemby, but grabbing him around the neck or trying to bring him to the ground or whatever, that there would actually have been a greater chance that the league would have felt compelled to suspend. Now, you say, well, yeah, but what if we lose a player? Well, again,
take the trade-off.
We'll take the trade-off, you definitely take the trade-off if it's Julius Randle. That much we know.
Jeez.
Oh, my God. But it's an interesting theory that in the end, it almost looked like the Wolves were so shocked by what Wemby did that they didn't know, or they had been conditioned to think, let's not turn into hockey players here. Let's keep our composure.
Right.
Then we're not going to get anybody thrown out of this game, at least. And he's going to get thrown out. He's going to get tossed. And we got the advantage at that point. But if you're playing chess rather than checkers, you have to say, get greedy and go, well, no. If we turn it into a melee, there's actually a better chance that then the league says, well, no, we have to do more. We are suspending, let's just say for the sake of argument, Jaden. But we're also suspending, beyond the game he gets kicked out, we are suspending Wemby for another game. I don't think it's it's sad that it has to come to this, but I'm not sure it's a crazy theory. Were the Wolves too composed and too nice? And even last night, I think we were too nice. Now, I know we did, for me, I'm not all that aroused by, well, you saw, Io got in his ear.
Yeah, that was nothing.
Edwards got in his ear a little bit, and they shoved back and forth a little bit. Hell, Nas got a technical that I don't even think he should have got a technical for.
I agree with
that stupid shove was not worth a technical foul at all.
With that.
But maybe we're too nice. Maybe we're too composed for our own good. What do you think? There's a lot to chew on there.
Yeah, so I'm just going to try to sum it up so we can hit the first straddle. Yes. And so I just want to make sure I have all of this right. So the team that has guys that have been suspended by their own team for punching a teammate, have lost players because they punched the wall, who have not been known historically for composure, now are all of a sudden too composed. At the moment of truth, when they needed to return to their uncomposed roots. Or
too nice, at least.
Too nice, too composed. When they needed to revert back to who they historically have done, they failed to meet the moment and showed too much maturity.
That's
wow.
It sounds insane.
That's deep.
It sounds like, what are we talking about here? But I'm just throwing it out. It's not original with me. Let me say, like I said, It was an Antonio Daniels thing that I picked up on. Although I think, in general, I don't know what I wanted last night. I don't know what I'm asking for, because they were going to protect him, obviously. But I thought he was too free and easy, man. Here's what I will say. In let's say the time when Charles Oakley was playing, when did he play? The 80s?
80s and 90s.
80s and 90s.
Yep.
Charles Barkley is playing. Whenever that Karl Malone's playing.
The Davis brothers from Indy.
I think Wemby's going down.
Yeah, probably right.
And I don't mean, again, like in a dirty play, but a very hard play. Now, I don't know if it would have made any difference, but it's interesting, like I said, I don't know, kind of looking back on it, that in the end, did our composure take away our best chance?
Yeah.
To actually steal this series when they, clearly the Spurs are better and we're not healthy and we are resilient. We are tenacious. We are determined. And that's why they've been to the conference finals 2 straight years, and why they shocked the world against Denver, but it's also why they're probably not going to go any further beyond the injury. I don't think it's just the injury. I think there is still a significant issue that if you want to grade on a really tough curve, that's going to have to be examined in this offseason, don't you?
Totally.
I just think it becomes inescapable at some point.
It's just this is not a team. Now, they might say, well, we weren't fully loaded. And if we had Dante and if Ant was hurt, then we wouldn't need Julius Randle to be everything that he is not right now. We wouldn't need Rudy, who did not play well last night.
No, he did not.
On either end, right?
But by the way, again, to the national audience, that doesn't mean what took place in the Denver series didn't take place.
Exactly.
This is the world we live in.
Right.
It's like, oh, he's terrible. We knew it all along. He was great the last series. He's not playing well in this series.
Right. Again,
both things can be true, and some of that, let's face it, this guy moves in otherworldly fashion at 7'5". If everybody believes the notion, what do they say? We've never seen anything like. I've heard people again say today there is no question in their mind that he will go down as the greatest basketball player ever. So if that's the premise, then a lot of people are going to look foolish, even a four-time Defensive Player of the Year who's clearly not used to guarding guards all the time out on the perimeter.
Yeah, there's going to be some collateral damage with Wemby.
Now, that doesn't explain. We should find the quote by, who's the Lakers coach?
J.J. Redick?
The Redick quote about his center. He used to play with Phoenix.
DeAndre Ayton.
You saw the quote. I think we talked about it. There was a game late in the regular season. He's struggling. And the quote from and the head coach is asked about him. And he goes, he has trouble catching the ball.
Yeah.
Rudy has trouble.
He does.
Catching the ball.
He does.
And it's maddening when it happens. But I'm on the teammates who too often threw it to him in places where
grenades.
Even Bill Walton could not have done all that much with it. And he has some of the greatest center hands in the history of basketball, let alone Rudy Gobert.
Can we go back to Wemby?
Why don't we go to 27?
We can. I was just going to say, we can go to 27. I think I'm kind of with you. I thought in a very serene and accepting place about the lack of suspension for Rudy. I get it. I understand it. Maybe it's because we also lived through Jamal Murray not being suspended when he probably should have been for throwing something on the court that Karl Anthony Towns, I don't remember if he slipped on it or almost slipped on it. But I think part of the problem I'm now having post Game 5 with the Victor Wembanyama stuff, and I don't know if you picked up on this or not, or if it bothered you as well, the broadcast, really the whole conversation about him before the game, which we talked about,
yes,
and then during the game last night, they basically acted like he was on some kind of United Nations mission trip and came back, or was like a prisoner of war.
The victim. We talked about that yesterday.
But they even took it a step further. And, like when Tirico was like, you got a young team kind of going through some stuff on the way. It's like, well, it's not really a young team taking their lumps that they're going through. It's their best player lost his mind and got kicked out of a game. That's not a normal playoff adversity. So I think that's bothering me a little bit more, the Wemby thing. Like, then it's making me re-examine how I thought about it too.
Yes.
Because he wasn't on a mission trip. He didn't have anything happen to him. It was all self-inflicted, and he got off scot-free, and you knew he was going to play well because he usually plays well. He's Victor Wembanyama. And so, yeah, that's bothering me the further away we get from it, that like they're acting like he's this martyr that is, fighting for the
like something happened to him.
Yeah, and nothing did.
He created this particular challenge.
So that's bothering
100%.
So that's bothering me.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. And I'm not going to let the team off the hook for some of the other stuff we've talked about. We're going to get to all of it. We'll talk about it with Sam Mitchell, the basketball IQ stuff. I get it. In this series, you're going to have to hit threes.
Yeah.
You have to. But taking them as rushed and early in the shot clock as they did too many times, first half, ridiculous. There were stretches where the second quarter possessions were a joke. I mean, they just were embarrassing. Where you go, how does a team rise up to where it is, only to put itself in this position, seemingly taking away any opportunity it might have to maybe get something going later. Now, they did eventually, but obviously it didn't get sustained.
Right.
Because San Antonio's offense is so much smoother. And that, too, makes no sense.
I know. They get shot so easily.
We have a lot more experience at this point. They're the team that's supposed to go, we're going to go, that San Antonio offense looks kind of willy-nilly for about 7 minutes here. What are they running? What are they?
They missed their last 8 shots of the half.
Ask the Spurs what they're running.
Right.
How often do we have to ask what are you running? What exactly is going on here, let alone the double team issue, which keeps coming up again and again and again? I don't know.
I think what's frustrating about it is, despite everything that we just talked about, the other thing, the Wolves were down 12 at half. They could have been down, and Parker said it on the postgame, if they're playing Oklahoma City, they're probably down 50 points. That's how ragged it was. Now, they weathered it at the end of the first.
And they actually could have been down 5 if they hit a couple more shots.
There's that, but because San Antonio, as well as they've played and as good as these young players are, and they've got some absolute dogs, there's no denying that. They missed their last 8 shots of the half, San Antonio. They do some stupid stuff, too. They have allowed the Wolves, including in Game 2, to hang around even when they're not really playing that crisply. And so I was thinking, if you come out here with anything in the third, any semblance of organization, you should be able to get back in this thing. And they tie it at 61 and have the ball. And Edwards actually misses a shot that would have given you your first lead of the game, 63-61. They're outscored by 30-some points after that when you tied it at 61, middle of the third. Like, that's impossible.
30, yeah.
And a lot of it, too, though, is I just think defensively, I know Jaden got in foul trouble, which was a dumb foul, his 4th foul, frustration foul because he missed the jumper. They completely crater, but San Antonio, they just play harder than them on defense, too. Part of the reason why the Wolves are disjointed is because they allow San Antonio to do whatever they want, and the Wolves were not answering on the other side of the floor.
There's going to have to be, I think it's becoming increasingly clear, that the president of basketball operations for this team, the highly coveted, highly decorated, highly accomplished Tim Conley.
And compensated,
is going to have an intervention after this season. He's going to have to sit the head coach down, and he's going to have to say, Coach, I'm with you. As long as I'm here, you can be here. I respect you as a coach. But I'm going to have to trade Julius Randle because you have a blind spot regarding this player that has become inescapable. And we really can't go forward because I guess what I'm saying is he's not going to bench him. He's not going to sit him.
Right.
So the only option
he's not going to call him out publicly.
And he's not going to call him out publicly like he does everybody else at one time or another.
Yep.
So I'm going to take it out of your hands. We're going to move him, and we'll see what we can get in return. And there's a part of me that understands why he being Finchy, continues to play him. My theory is that deep, if you gave him, is it sodium pentothal?
I'm not sure.
If you injected him a sodium pentothal, like truth serum,
let's keep it simple.
That Finchy would say, I know he's been a wreck, but I have no choice but to hope that for one game,
right,
he catches lightning in a bottle because he can. He hasn't lately, but he can. And my alternative is what?
Right.
Who else am I going to throw out there? I can try different combinations, but as it is, the center is a mess right now in this matchup compared to the last series. So I'm sure deep down he may know it, and he's saying the odds at this point might be 5%,
right,
that he has like a 25-12 game, but that's our only chance anyway. So I got to suffer through it. But long term, I think you got to separate the two. And, we'll get into it as we get further along in this thing and the basketball IQ stuff. I really do believe now there's 2 choices going forward. One is you do change the coach and say, I want somebody else to take a fresh look at this issue. Godspeed to Finchy. He's been great, but sometimes it's just, quote unquote, use the different voice cliche, whatever. Or you got to change the players. Because I think there's something, and we're going to talk to Sam about this. I think there's something to be said that players, you can't make a low IQ basketball guy smarter, even if you're a great coach. And that what the best teams do is they just try to lower the number of players that are in that classification.
Sure.
Either by how they draft or the trades they make or whatever. You're going to have to change the players, I think, or the coach, don't you, in that sense?
Yeah, now, the stretch where they tied it at 61, that was probably Randall's best stretch of the game, where he had a good pass to Jaden. I think he got some rebounds. I think he might have even gotten a stop in there defensively.
Yeah.
But then there's still to me, it's never even in the offense with Julius, as clunky as it is. There was a play in the first half last night where it was so obviously his guy to rotate to in the corner that the Spur was so open that even though he didn't do it right away, he still had time to get 2 steps outside the lane. Like, it was so bad and so lazy. Like, that's actually what bothers me more, because that's just general inactivity and inattentiveness, and
lack of effort.
Lack of effort. You can't have it. Where did I want to go?
Well, you gave me the this is one of those analytics.
Yeah.
The Wolves are getting 0.85 points per direct touch from Randall these playoffs. And that's a number that in of itself, I don't think means anything to anybody. But in context, according to this analytic, the All-NBA podcast, that's the second worst mark in the tracking era for a player with 300 or more direct touches in a single playoff round. A playoff run, I should say. Playoff run.
Yep.
That would include 2 rounds. And the eye test would say, yeah, I can believe it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it feels worse.
Yes.
But to answer your question about the changes, I think the fact that the Wolves were I think Conley's already showed his hand, because they were heavily involved in the Durant stuff. They were heavily involved in the Giannis stuff.
Yes.
I think, and that's kind of what's given me long-term peace and calm, is that Conley knows all of this. Conley's a smart guy, and he has tried to switch things out the last couple of years and go get a true number 2 option, or maybe, because it's not going to be a 1, but another big knocker, another superstar. Mm-hmm. I think this conversation is not news to Tim Conley. I think
I would be shocked
the
if it
moves
is.
that he's tried to be involved in the last couple of years,
right?
Because he also sees what's going on with Oklahoma City and San Antonio.
Well,
they're not going anywhere.
No,
it's not the last dance.
Well, that's what we got to get to the East. But we're very late. Let's get our first pause in bonus bucks time. Better late than never.
Fan at BigDeck.com. I want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest, and the first keyword on this Wednesday is rich. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword rich.
Bumper to bumper with Dan Barreiro on the
612 guy, wasn't it just a week ago you called out Foligno for doing the same thing? Composure? You have me fairly confused right now. I would say, 612 guy, you're talking checkers and I'm talking chess. What Foligno did put the Wild in that game at a disadvantage for 4 minutes immediately in the short term. At a numbers disadvantage. And quite frankly, Foligno, as popular as he is, has a history of composure issues that transcend any single game or, frankly, any season, any single series. What I'm proposing, inspired by Antonio Daniels, is at the moment of truth in game, what was that, game 4?
Yeah.
That it's impossible to calculate this out as it's happening probably. But what he is musing out loud is, I think, makes some sense to me. That if part of what made it probably too easy for the league to say he got booted, as he should, missed the entire second half of the game, that's good. What made that easy was it never really turned into a melee. So if the strategy is about advantage, disadvantage, I'll ask 612 guy. Do the Wolves not have the advantage if Wemby gets tossed for a second game? Well, I mean, suspended for the second game. And would it have been harder for the league to leave it as enough, he got kicked out, if it had turned into a full-fledged melee? Now, I know the fine print is dangerous because, well, what if the player, the Wolves player...
Yeah. The secondary guy.
What if he gets kicked out of that game and suspended for the next game too? And you know what my answer is? Did you watch Wemby last night?
Yeah.
You're going to take that trade-off every time. I'm not saying it's a way to build a championship, blueprint, but I look back on it, and I'm mad at myself because I think more generally I went along too easily with the notion that no track record, there's no need to suspend him. I go back and look at that play again. That's suspendable. Flat out, period, end of story. I think old-time NBA, new-time NBA especially, that if you're in the commissioner's office, I know you got people whispering in your ear saying he's the future, man, and he's our ratings this year, and you really want to do it and maybe knock the Spurs out? Because the Wolves will probably get swept by Okie City in 4. That'd be the thinking at least, right? I get all of that. But there's got to be a voice on the other side whispering to my commissioner. You do need to deliver a powerful message here that's the kind of calculated blow that cannot be tolerated in your league. This isn't the National Hockey League. This is the NBA.
Right.
And so on that basis, sorry, because it will be easier for teams and players of other teams to say, okay, if my player, and I agree with this totally, this was part of what Draymond said, and other people picked up on it. If Naz Reid, if the roles are reversed and Naz Reid throws that same elbow the same way, he is suspended. You know it and I know it, and that, to me, is where the message, and I wouldn't even argue with it, but the message from the league on that should be, we can't have other teams going, all right, we kind of got free reign to take some free shots. And that, I think, was part of Draymond's point. I obviously don't agree with everything Draymond says or the way he goes about doing it, as I said yesterday.
That's the funny part. If Draymond notices it, as a guy who's been suspended, who doesn't like being suspended, who's talked about the fine system in the NBA, and has said some kind of ridiculous things about the fine system, but you know how he has the background there. We probably all should have had our antennas up more when you hear what Draymond had to say about it, that it shocked even him that they didn't do anything, or that he was bothered that they didn't do anything more than they actually did.
612 guy, such a dumb take. The dude got ejected, and we won the game because of it. You wanted an all-out brawl? Dumb. I'm saying I don't know that I wanted an all-out brawl. I'm playing this out in real time, in a real-world sense. This isn't a laboratory. And what I'm saying is, he should have been, I now firmly in the camp, and there are people nationally who have said this from the beginning, to their credit. I'm now firmly in the camp that says he should have been suspended for an additional game. 100%. And what I'm saying is, I think part of what made it easy for the league to, this is clean, it's done, nothing, it didn't devolve into anything bigger. He didn't do anything else, nobody else did. So, we're good. There would have been a better chance that the league might have had a harder time from a PR standpoint doing it. That's not me even necessarily taking a position on that so much as saying it's an interesting theory that I think has some legs to it in a real world sense. 100%. Do you agree with this? Even the NHL would have suspended Wemby for one game after such a blatant elbow. I don't know.
They didn't really do anything to...
You got pads in the NHL, though,
well, who was it? Jamie Benn, right? Everybody was telling us that he was supposed to be suspended for something, or he was supposed to be fined more for Dallas. He's got a huge track record, and he wasn't suspended. So, I don't know if I buy that.
And this is a good question. Do we know who was worst on points per touch? Worse. The one player worse than Julius on points per touch.
I didn't look at the graphic. I should have.
I looked it up. I couldn't find it on the graphic.
Okay, I just took the Julius line and said, this makes sense. This aligns with what I feel like I've been watching for the better part of the season, but certainly in the playoffs. But I didn't see who was worse.
Ryan in Minnetonka, thank you for touching on Randall and Finch. I think you have to move on from both. I don't. I'm saying I think if you're really going to tackle... If you believe the premise, and I do, about the basketball IQ issue, I'm not sure you can coach that into players. I think that's on the front end of the collection of players you put together. So, to me, you have two choices. a significant roster shift without being stupid and irrational, where you bring in more of that and you admit that you're getting rid of some good talent, but in the mix you think it'll work in your favor, or you say, I think some of this can be coached into people. I'm going to give somebody else a shot. I wouldn't do both. I don't think you should do both, to tell you the truth. But I think it sort of has to be, for me at this point, one or the other. Now, the comeback to all that will be, Dante, you can argue, in this kind of series, actually is more valuable than a Julius Randle at his best.
Right.
Because there are so many great wing players for San Antonio, Davey, some half the league has never heard of until this season, but they're good at this. He is a wing. He's a streak shooter, but he can hit jump shots.
For sure.
You need jump shots hit in this series. He's active. He doesn't back off. I think he plays reasonable defense at least, and he's willing defensively. So that can be the comeback to my comeback, which is, and Anthony wasn't healthy, so.
That's it, and Dosunmu.
Yeah, because sometimes, it's also fair to say Conley says, no, we're going to stay the course here. I make changes when I think we need to, but sometimes I think stability is the most important thing, and I'm going to continue to put it together. I'm going to find a way to re-sign Dosunmu. I don't even know if that's likely. I've seen enough of Dosunmu that I want him back. I do, don't you? I want him back.
I like him.
I think, who do we have on yesterday on this subject?
Trent, probably.
Trent.
Yep.
I mildly disagree with Trent. I think Dosunmu, well, again, depending on what your options are, I think he has a chance to be your starting point guard. I do.
Yeah, he could be.
I think, well, put it this way.
He's going to get big money,
He's better than the other options that you have right now. I've seen enough of him to think that the way we run offense anyway, and Ant used to handing the ball a decent amount, if you can take away that responsibility to just, let's say even 25%, I think Dosunmu can do that. We've seen his activity, and he hasn't even been healthy. Obviously, he is going to cost big money. All right, let's get caught up. I want to get to some hockey conversation, some texts on your confidence level tonight on your Minnesota Wild. I have a new theory I want to advance there that has nothing to do with goon behavior. We'll discuss that. Don't forget, coming up at at 4:30, it's Sam Mitchell. So we'll get back to the NBA and the Wolves. Russo Radio at 5:02 and Kessler at 5:30. For whatever it's worth, Mitchell, despite his frustration with what he saw last night, fully expects the Wolves to win Game 6.
So do I.
And I don't know if I'd bet on it, but I lean that way.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't be at all surprised. That still doesn't, cure all of their ills. That's the problem, because fan has learned Game 7 has to be in San Antonio, Davey.
You're listening to Barreiro on The Fan. The Wild must win in Denver.
In the history of the NBA playoffs, in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs, in the history of the NFL and Major League Baseball postseason, can you answer one question regarding the history of those sports? Has it ever been documented that an inferior team won the series? Has it ever happened?
I thought you were going to ask me, has it ever been documented where a team's 5 best players were sick, so they moved the game a day later? Because that's happened now.
Yeah,
and the Frost lost last
LaVelle,
night.
No big deal.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He let the league, or, well, I can't really say Montreal because it's all, the league is, they run all the teams.
Yep.
He let the league completely off the hook.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh,
well, he'll be on Friday.
He went belly up. Because it's ironic. Was he bought off? Because the day before, he's, I never realized that, a series could be postponed because of fear. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. LaVelle being tough guy. By the game time, and he's writing a column off the game, no excuses for the Frost. No excuses whatsoever. So somebody got to him.
Wow.
Somebody in that league, maybe it was Stan Kasten.
Could have been.
Got to him. Maybe it's Mr. Fun. I don't know.
I was going to say Joe Anderson.
Yeah.
To answer your question, yes, I believe an inferior team has upset a better team.
Do you know how we know it?
Because we've been the better team that's lost.
Yes.
A lot.
We were the better team against Atlanta In what year was that? 1998.
My sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, the 15-1 year.
I was listening to Dave Ryan's do the "We're Going to Miami" song.
Right. We were. You could argue the better team in New Orleans.
There's no arguing that.
I mean, I don't mean because we outgained them in that game. I'm just saying in general, you could say we were just a better team.
We were loaded.
I bring it up because, as I said, we're be ready for it, boys and girls. If Colorado finishes the job tonight and San Antonio Davie finishes the job either on Friday or it would be Sunday, would be Game 7.
Yep.
All you're going to read is calm down. You can be mad as hell, but we lost to better teams. And I won't necessarily disagree with that. But what I'm here to tell you is I've covered and watched sports for decades. It happens more than you think that an inferior team, for whatever reason, just rises up inexplicably, unreasonably, and says, we're going to win. Somehow we're going to win.
Our hockey teams have done that a couple times.
That's
the
true.
Wild, the North Stars did it.
Why we're always have to be on the other end of that. So that's why I'm officially bored with the explains. They're better explains everything. It doesn't explain everything. It certainly doesn't explain the approach that the Wolves took at key moments in game number 5. Not even close to explaining that. How about my new theory on your Wild Club? We go to we're in Denver. We win tonight. Series comes back here and we lose in 6.
It's very possible.
I think that's that's where you're back to down 3-1. Everything has to go your way. Everything has to go your way, right? And that's the danger of playing this series the way we did, especially in Game 4. You could say we've squandered opportunities early in the series. There's still people who think, don't know if I agree, there are people who think that with better goaltending in Game 2, we would have won that game. I'm still not sure I buy that. I think that's mainly from people who are bitter that the goaltending change was made, and you and I both disagreed with the change. I didn't come out of that game convinced that that was the difference in the game. Of course, we will never know. But, it's not outlandish to think that the Wild could win tonight.
No, definitely not.
But it's, for me now, fairly outlandish to think, even though we've done it before. Well, the last time we were down 3-1 was Vegas, and we got it to 7, right? And then we lost in Game 7. We were down 3-1, tied at 3-3, and then couldn't finish the job, correct? I think that was Russo will have that history.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm pretty sure that's right.
That sounds right. And the way Volstad's been playing,
yes, exactly.
It's possible. He played well the other night.
He did. And you get a couple deflections. And,
yes, hockey's a funny game. But you know what they have to do? Intentionally play the right way. Or what did we say yesterday? They have to be conscious or intentional about playing the right way.
Well, that's the funny thing.
Making the conscious choice.
That's the funny thing. I mean, you could argue that Anthony Edwards, maybe he's following the quotes from Heinze, because what did Edwards say after the game?
We know the plan.
We know the plan, and we didn't follow it again.
Yeah.
He basically said we intentionally didn't follow the game plan.
Totally.
So we got two weird teams here, or a weird dynamic going on in town. I'm not sure which. Larry Mondello guys checked in. I don't know for sure the basketball IQ level of the Wolves, but I do know none of them were able to answer the lion, a giraffe, a bear, and a shark question.
Oh, boy. Let's wait for Kessler at 5:30 before we start this.
Oh, my God. 87 Twins. That's true. They were inferior to Detroit and to St. Louis. That's 100% accurate. 91, not so much. That was a better team. So we've been on the better end of it.
Sure, 35 years ago.
And it's also proof that it can happen. Is it harder in basketball when the other team has the dominant player? Yes, it always is. But still not impossible, right?
No, and like I said, I'm with you. I'm with Sam Mitchell. The Wolves are so weird. I feel like they're going to play well on Friday.
I fully expect them to.
And let's see what happens in Game 7. I think they're going to play really well. But I could also see, here's the thing, I could also see them just completely saying, we're done, it's over. Rudy's terrible. Yeah. Julius wants to go home, and he's building a new ranch in Texas.
Johnny's calling for a lineup change.
But, okay, I'm glad you brought that up, and I know we got to break again. What does that mean? Who are we benching?
That's the problem.
Are we talking about a starting lineup change?
Yes, he's saying, I don't think he means, for example, you don't play Rudy at all, but you go, okay, we're starting Nas. we're going to go with a completely different approach.
I just don't see that happening.
Or you say we're benching Julius.
And I don't see that
and we're
happening.
starting Nas. And again, to me, as much as I understand the instinct, and Julius deserves all the criticism he's getting, he doesn't seem to be acknowledging anything, by the way. I'd like to see a little bit more self-awareness.
Oh, he's following his head coach's lead.
Yeah, that's true.
Refuses to say anything.
That's true.
He had a lot of good passes, and his defense is fine.
His box score is utterly misleading. Through 3 quarters, he was awful. The fourth quarter was garbage time. He got some numbers. He padded the stats in the fourth quarter. Big deal. But I'm sure, again, with what I would say to Johnny is the same thing we were talking about earlier, that Finchie might agree, but he'd say, in the case of Randall especially, I got no one else who's going to, have a chance to get 25 and 10. Even though it's unlikely on the basis of what we've seen.
I know.
With with the guys they have guarding him. But what if he's sitting on that one game? And that one game gets us back to 7. Now we got to win 2, but nevertheless.
That is the thin reed of hope that Finchie is obviously banking on. He's hoping that if I hang with my guy, he's going to pay it off for us. I don't have a lot of faith in it.
I don't either.
But that's what Finchie's going on.
All right, top of the hour break. Don't forget Sam Mitchell in about 30 minutes. Russo in about 1 hour. Keep the texts coming. 64686. Bradshaw and Bryant. KFAN text line.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barreiro.